Hey, doing a tag today. It's the main character tag. It's made by Katie Ann Wrights, Grapefry, and Wallace, who I am not subscribed to. I have to track them down. So I figured I should do this one because I haven't talked about my work in progress for a while. And I feel like I should. This is a writing channel. I should be talking about what I'm writing. So it's basically just questions about my main character. First question is actually 3 questions. What's your character's name? How did you come up with the name? And how does the character feel about the name? So my character's name is Tala, and I chose that name after spending like 3,000 hours surfing behindthename.com. There was a reason. I don't remember what it was. I think maybe I just like the way it sounds. And it's kind of strange because all the other characters, they have very specific on-brand names that I chose for their meaning. And then there's Tala. But that works because she has a very complicated relationship with her name. So first of all, when people hear her name, they assume she's from the northern country because they think that's a very common northern name, but it really isn't. So she's constantly like being asked if she's from up north, and she's saying no, stop asking me that. So that's a minor annoyance, alright? Her real issue with her name is her family name, which is Hayes. So in this like country, when you're born, you get your mother's family name. So your father is still your father and he has parental rights over you, but you're not legally considered part of his family. Like his parents, his siblings, his nieces and nephews, they are not your grandparents, your aunt and uncle, or your cousins. Obviously, people, like most people, they still treat them like family, but the richer or the more elite or old-fashioned your family is, like the harder that line is drawn. Tala's mother, however, when Tala was born, gave her daughter her father's family name. No one is really explaining why. No one likes that it happened. It's this big family drama issue, and it's definitely caused drama between Tala and her father's sister, who is filthy rich, like ridiculously rich. And the bigger issue is that she's filthy rich because the family name is a brand name for like a food company. So when Tala was growing up, everyone asked her like, oh, are you like the Hayes, like that Hayes family? And she has to explain all the time like, no, my name is Hayes, but I'm not part of the Hayes family, blah blah blah, stop asking, I don't know why. So it's become like this, it's almost like a complex, if that makes sense. Question 2. What's your MC's zodiac sign? So, I actually just came up with a birthday for Tala a couple months ago, and I gotta look it up. So she's a Libra, okay? And apparently Libras are like cooperative, diplomatic, gracious, fair-minded, social. So those are strengths. Weaknesses: indecisive, avoids confrontations, will carry a grudge, self-pity. Okay, those are spot on. The weaknesses, spot on. I don't know too much about horoscopes, to be honest. That kind of fits. The strengths, not so much. The weaknesses, yeah, definitely. Question 3. What's your MC's relationships with the people or person who raised them? So, Tala's parents died like super young, like to the point where she barely remembers them. She has some memories of like some of their habits, but that's it really. So she was actually raised by her father's niece and her boyfriend. And to do so, the both of them dropped out of high school so they could take care of Tala when she was little. To be honest, even before her parents died, those two were already kind of raising her a little bit because of like some family drama. Like the niece had moved in with them and she had basically turned into like a live-in babysitter for her. So they have like a really good relationship. It's practically like those are her parents. Like in all the ways that count, she considers them her parents. So good. Relationship is good. I mean, she's 24 now and they still hang out all the time. Question 4. What is your MC's most important memory prior to the start of the series or the book? So probably the incident that had the biggest impact on her life was when she got rejected right in the middle of making out with a guy because she's asexual and she didn't want to do more than kissing, and the guy was like, oh, okay, that's not gonna work. How about I pretend this never happened? And basically she kind of internalized that and thought to herself, like, oh, this means that I'm just never gonna have a romantic relationship ever. And that's how she moved forward in her life. So yeah, that's definitely like the one like specific memory that can be classed as a memory that was the most important. I mean, there's like big long experiences obviously that have like messed her up in other ways. But as far as like specific memories, that was the one. Question 5. Your MC walks into a library. What section do they head to first? She would pick out a contemporary romance, which she would then proceed to DNF about 10-20 pages in, because she doesn't read enough books to realize that she doesn't actually, like, that's not actually the genre she should be reading, and she'd probably enjoy like a freaking crime thriller more. It's very painful to write. A non-reader, I have to say. But she's a non-reader. Moving on. 6. Would your character survive the Oregon Trail? No. She's a city girl, oh my god, no. She could fish. She likes to be out in like nature and like fish and stuff, but she has no survival skills. And fishing is just not gonna come in very handy when you're out on the prairie. That would be terrible. 7. What would your character ask for if they made a deal with a Crossroads Demon? I had to Google what a Crossroads Demon was. Okay, I don't think that she would actually make the deal, just because the fact that the demon existed and was making a deal with her would tell her that, oh, we actually do have souls and there's the afterlife, so maybe I should like not do this because, you know, bad situation. But if she did, is this prior to the story starting or after the story? Because if it's after the story like started, she'd probably bring her friend back to life. That's not a spoiler, that's what the whole premise of the book. I think that she would ask for a job that made more money and was not related to her father's family. Because right now she's working for her father's sister for more money than what other people are being paid, which is nice, but it's still like just barely enough money for her to survive on. That's like her main concern in life right now is, you know, making enough money to pay the bills and stuff. Because she's been given her family's house, not family's house, her mother's house. Like her mother bought a house before she died and paid it off and everything, but it's in the middle of a city. Property taxes are sky high, the utilities sky high, and because of like zoning and stuff, like it's the most expensive city to ever live in. So even though she's making pretty good money and would be living very comfortably in an apartment, she's just barely scraping by. And god, it is really annoying to write her sometimes because she's like super stubborn. Like she won't take money from her very rich adopted parents because she's just stubborn like that. But she's also constantly worried about not having money. So it's frustrating me as the writer. So I can only imagine it would frustrate readers more. But that's how she is. Number 8. What will your character think about on their deathbed? Probably what happens in this story. Which I can't talk about because it's a major spoiler. But it's like psychologically damaging to the point where I'm kind of like second guessing how I'm writing it. I'm like, is this an appropriate reaction? So, you know, that's one of my biggest hurdles writing this story in particular. God, that was the last question. The last question was the biggest non-answer. Okay, maybe I should think of something else. Besides this, she'd probably be thinking about getting rejected by that guy. And that's also related to what happens in the book. But that would definitely be something weighing on her mind for a very long time. For other reasons, besides, you know, giving her a weird interpersonal relationship complex. I'll leave it at that. These are actually kind of fun, even though I feel like not as many people watch these videos in general, but this is for me, and maybe a little bit for you. It's more for me though. Anyway, we'll see you next week. Bye bye. So it's basically just questions about my main character. First question. What is the first question?